Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 46 of Triumph Beyond Trauma. I am your host, Rosie Skeen, and I have a little ripper of an episode for you today. Roger Eichler from Trojan's Trek is back, and he has got some pretty big news to share. If you missed Roger's first appearance, Trojan's Trek is an incredible charity founded in South Australia in 2009. It's a national wilderness-based peer support initiative designed for current and former military and emergency services personnel. Through vehicle-led expeditions and solid evidence-based approaches, Trojan's Trek helps participants reconnect with their core values, rediscover purpose, and redefine their identity, whether transitioning out of service or returning to the workforce. Just a quick reminder, actually, Roger's book is still available on Amazon, so if you haven't grabbed a copy yet, now is a great time to do so. I won't spoil what's coming up next, though, so let's jump straight in. Welcome to Triumph Beyond Trauma, the podcast that explores journeys of resilience and hope. I'm Rosie Skeen, a yoga and breathwork teacher and founder of Tactical Yoga Australia. As a former soldier's wife, mum to 3 beautiful kids and a medically retired New South Wales police officer with PTSD, I understand the challenges of navigating mental health in the first responder and veteran community. Join us for incredible stories from individuals who've confronted the depths of mental illness and discovered their path to happiness and purpose, as well as solo episodes and expert discussions. Together, we'll uncover the tools to help you navigate your journey toward a brighter, more fulfilling life. Whether you're looking for helpful insights, practical tips, or just a friendly reminder that you're not alone, Triumph Beyond Trauma has got your back. You matter, and your journey to a happier, more meaningful life starts right here. Roger, welcome back to the podcast. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Really good to be back. Yes.
I think it's about 20 episodes it's going to be in between, because I think you're here for episode 24 and we're in the 40s now.
Yeah. You're doing really well. You're doing really well. Getting it out there, and I promote it where I can.
Yeah, thank you. So good. I just, for people that didn't listen to episode 24, do you want to give us a little bit of your background and your journey and how you came to be with Trojan's Trek? Because that's what we're going to talk about today.
Sure. So I like to call it veteran New South Wales police officer. So I joined originally in 1986, way back when, before computers.
The old typewriter.
The old typewriters and all that sort of stuff. And I lasted 5.5 years before let's call it the interesting period of the police force, where there was a lot of graft and corruption and mates supporting mates and all that sort of stuff. And I was actually bullied out of the service after just over 5 years service. I left in 92. And then they had this thing called the Royal Commission, which cleaned out a lot of the dirty cops.
Yeah.
You got to watch it, whatever you can, if you're interested in that sort of thing. It was really interesting. I saw a lot of bad stuff that shouldn't have happened. Anyway, once they got rid of a lot of dirty cops, they were screaming for staff. And I basically saw the commissioner at the time, Peter Ryan, on TV. And he said, we need all the old ex-cops who are honest to come back. I literally rang up, faxed off an application, and I was accepted on that day.
Wow.
And I was back in the cops 3 months later at the police academy in 1997, and I lasted another 12 years before it finally bit me. And I had an interesting journey in the police. I specialise in country policing. I did a couple of months in the city, but I did a lot of country postings around New South Wales. And I hit my hugest, if that's such a word, hurdle when I was out at Euston, where I was at a 2-man station operating it as a 1-manner, did a huge amount of work, massive amounts of work, but saw a lot of tragedy from people that I knew personally. When you're in small country towns, you know the people. You know the people when they die. You know the people when there's tragedies. You know the people that are affected by crime or whatever else it is. And to get away from that, my family and I moved to Cooma. And it just got worse.
Yeah.
A bigger town, a bigger country town, but just knowing more people with more tragedy. And then I finally hit a massive hurdle where I ended up with a pretty serious motor vehicle accident that I was involved in, nearly killing a 15-year-old boy who was running away from police. I nearly killed him. I ended up in court, and I was exonerated at court, but I was extremely unhealthy, and I pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. And the day after I walked out of court, my boss rang me up and said, "Thanks very much for your time. Goodbye." and I was out of the police within 6 months. Yeah. Medically, they call it medically retired. I wasn't retired. I was medically discharged.
Yeah.
I was extremely unhealthy, extremely unhealthy. And it took me 10 years to find an organization that really literally saved my life. I was literally on the brink of finishing it all, literally.
Yeah.
That,
I remember talking to you in our last episode and also reading your book, which is amazing. I still recommend it to people. Talking about that and that court matter and judge saying to you, I don't know why you've pleaded guilty to this.
I know.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I was extremely unwell, extremely, and I didn't give a shit. To excuse the language, people, I didn't give a damn. I just did not give a damn because either way, I was probably going to commit suicide. And literally, when I was at court on the day, I was walking around the court building looking for places to hang myself.
Yeah.
Trying them out, trying whether they'd take my weight and all this sort of stuff. I was extremely unwell, and I just didn't care. I was at that point. Yeah, my wife and I had some firm discussions before that court date as to why I pleaded guilty.
Yeah.
I'll call them firm discussions.
Yeah.
But I was extremely unhealthy, and she was going to work still. And things are bad when your wife is ringing you up 3 or 4 times a day to make sure that you've done the dishes, darling.
Yeah.
You've done this. No, she was checking in to see whether I was alive or not.
Yeah.
And she was getting home before the kids got home because she didn't want them to find me dead.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you haven't read my book, guys, grab a copy of it. The Price of Protecting Others, it's called. And she wrote the final chapter too. Give her side of what happened.
It was beautiful. I really enjoyed that.
But yeah, I was very, very, very unhealthy for a long, long time. Yeah. Yeah. And here I am, though. Here I am.
So it was Trojan's Trek that.
So once I got out of the police, I was 10 years extremely unhealthy.
Wow. That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. I was hanging on to my identity because I loved the cops. I loved the work. I loved making a difference. And I loved the investigations and catching crooks and all that sort of stuff. But the trauma of it all, and yes, there is bullying. There's bullying in every single government department or non-government department, actually. There is always going to be bullying. It'll never stop. But I received some serious, significant stuff. And I couldn't hold a job down for 10 years after I got out of the cops. I was hanging on to my identity of, I'm a cop. I'm an ex-cop. Yeah, I'm a really broken ex-cop and hanging on to all these different things. And I loved my uniform and I kept it. And then, when I was looking for something. I went through so many psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, and all that sort of stuff to try and find someone who resonated with me. But I read a book. And that book was written by one of the guys who founded Trojan's Trek, Shotfire, I think it's called. And he was a Vietnam vet. Well, the two guys that started Trojan's Trek were Vietnam veterans, or are Vietnam veterans. They're still alive. And they saw a lot of their mates that went through the military taking their life. More people committed suicide of the Vietnam veteran era between 2017 and 2020. More people committed suicide, more veterans committed suicide who were Vietnam veterans than actually died in the Vietnam War.
In that short period of time? Is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, over a period of 3 or 4 years. They lost something like 1,500 Vietnam veterans through suicide. And during the war, they lost 500 in total.
Oh, my God.
In battle. Yeah. Because how do you deal with the trauma of what you see and do in whatever you do on the frontline services, military, police, whatever it might be? How do you deal with that? And those guys from that era didn't know how to process it. And the worst suicide that I went to in my police career was a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
in relation
horrific.
to how violent. Yeah.
It was violent. It was toxic. And because he had basically decomposed for 5 days, I had to deal with that sort of thing,
Yeah.
But anyway, so Trojan's Trek was founded by these two guys who started it because they wanted a circuit breaker program. And what they do is they take people who are veterans of any of the emergency services or the military, and we take you away into the bush and we just disconnect from society for a week. And that gives us a week to concentrate on each other. And the program is done or run by veterans who have done the program. And the best way to communicate with people who have been through those instances are people that have been through those instances.
Yeah.
Yeah, like mates talking to mates. Yeah, I've been there. I've done that. But we're not banging our own drums and saying it's all wonderful and all that sort of stuff. But we know how to communicate. And what we do, we help the participants change their thinking of how they deal with what they went through and how they're dealing with their loved ones and the people who care about them. I was on the brink of losing my marriage. I was on the brink of losing my family. I was on the brink of losing my life before I went to Trojan's Trek. And that 1 week away in the Flinders Ranges, and we go to a variety of different places, that 1 week away, just totally disconnecting from phones, radios, TV, newspapers, everything, and just concentrating on ourselves, getting back to basics and talking about stuff and changing our thinking about what we've been through and thanking ourselves for our service that we've done to the community, and stop hating on yourself. It changed my life. It literally changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went back, I was re-energized. And the biggest difference about Trojan's Trek is when we do a program, like a week-long program, wherever it might be, we collect a lot of data, and all of that goes to Flinders University in South Australia. And then every couple of months we get a survey, and that survey goes to the participant and their partner, and all that information goes back to Flinders University. And then students that are studying for their PhD in psychology or whatever they're studying, they go through all our data to see if we are hitting the targets that are achievable and can be achieved through this sort of program. And this is what I've been trying to find out, we're the only organisation across Australia that does that.
Wow. What are they looking for?
They're looking for changes in people's mindset and people's thinkings and people's aspects on life. And there's a whole different myriad of different things. It's a 3 or 4 page survey that people have to fill out.
Yeah, right.
And it's both the participant and the partner. So the partner, as you know,
Yeah.
you go and see a psychologist or a doctor or whatever, and you go, yeah, I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful. But when your partner comes in and speaks to that professional, they go, no, you're an idiot. You're doing this, 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 and this, and this. And this is how you communicate. And this is what happens over nighttime when you're asleep. Like, I still have nightmares. I still have my periods where I wake up in the morning and I know I've been doing some nasty things in my sleep. And every now and then Libby still has to kick me in the guts and go, wake up, you're having one of your nights and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. It's not like it used to be almost every night.
Yeah.
It's only once every couple of weeks or couple of months. But yeah, Trojan's Trek significantly changed my life.
Yeah.
And from 2018 onwards, I've done a lot more, and now I'm the director of operations to help organise where these camps are being held, how we get the participants there, how we're getting all our resources there, and so on. Yeah. And look, it profoundly changes a lot of people's lives. It really does. And then we support everybody, like all the participants. We've got a couple of dedicated Trojan's Trek pages on social media. And it's a great way of communicating with our colleagues, whether we know them or not, through Trojan's Trek. And if somebody's suffering, we've got a way of connecting with them. Yeah. Look, I'm having a bad day. Can somebody give me a call? And they just put the messages out there. Yeah. Instead of talking to a bottle or talking to drugs or whatever, I need a mate to call me. Here's my number, or whatever it might be. And yeah, we're still looking after each other. And this started in 2009 and it's been going on since then. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's an absolutely brilliant program. Costs you nothing to attend. Wherever you live in Australia, we will get you to a camp.
That's incredible.
Free of charge.
That's nice for people to hear, especially after the conversation we had just before.
Yeah.
There's something so special about sharing lived experience and being with people with lived experience. Like, you don't have to be a psychologist or have, extensive mental health training to make a difference in other people's lives.
Yeah.
I think that gets lost a little bit. Everyone thinks they need to be a professional and they need to have this or that.
No.
Something to be said for just being with someone who gets it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why Trojan's Trek is so successful, because that's what you're fostering.
Yeah. Yeah. And now what we're doing, we're sourcing organisations that will give us free online training or free, training, so that our facilitators now have mental health awareness training.
Yeah.
We've also got training in first aid and the, the defibs and all that sort of stuff. So, and we've always got all that equipment on hand with whatever we're doing. And Trojan's Trek isn't a trek of walking. You're not going for a long walk somewhere.
This is what I wanted to talk to you about.
The trek is in your mind. It's in your brain. Literally, think of going to a farm somewhere, wherever it might be, that's remote. No phone reception or extremely limited. And you're just sitting around a campfire, and then you might walk maybe 50 meters or 100 meters to another location, have a cup of tea. And then we'll go for a walk to a dam, and we'll sit on the side of the dam and talk about stuff. I'm not going to go about all the different programs that we talk about throughout the camp, but we're just connecting and being able to let people express themselves and finding what are the triggers and all that sort of stuff and how to deal with those triggers. Because we all have triggers about different things. It might be sounds, smells, sights, whatever or other. And also being honest to yourself and then honest to those loved ones. And quite literally, me writing my book was the biggest, profoundest change in my life besides Trojan's Trek. Getting it out there and expressing to everybody what I'd been through, how I felt, what the impact was on my family. But that's what we talk about at the camps as well. And then you go home with different abilities to communicate and how to communicate honestly with your partner. And if your partner's willing to listen and not react and, blow up or whatever rather, but just, look, I've got to tell you this story. This is what happened. This is why I do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's profound, absolutely profound. Yeah. We make massive differences in people's lives.
Yeah. And how good does that feel for you guys too, running?
Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. I've read a lot of different programs and been to a couple of them and everything, but Trojan's Trek was just so profoundly different because it's run by your mates. You don't know them, but by the end of it, you're just good mates. But they get you. They totally get what you're on about, where you've been and where you're heading. And it's shared lived experience. You're not the only one in your boat.
Yeah. Which it really is very isolating, especially if we talk about PTSD and leaving an agency. With that, it can be really, really isolating and you just feel like you're the only one, right? So to be in a group of people that are all sort of maybe not the same symptomology, but you're all going through the same thing.
Yep. And you're beating yourself up because you're you feel like you've let yourself down from a career that you loved.
Or your family as well.
Yeah, and your family, you've totally let them down. And quite literally, at the end of the day, they don't care. Yeah. I hung on to all my uniform and all my memorabilia from the police and all that sort of stuff because I thought they cared about that stuff. And it took them to tell me, Dad, we don't give a damn about that stuff. Yeah. We've got no interest in your police hats, your uniforms, your whatever or other. We don't care. And when I finally realized that after my camp, that it wasn't important and hanging on to all of that stuff was not important, that I went out the backyard and burnt everything. Yeah. I literally burnt everything that I owned, and it was a massive weight being lifted off my shoulders. It's not important.
Yeah.
That career that you had was part of your life, and it's helped change you, but it's not what you have to hang on to for the rest of your life. Yeah. It's just part of your story. That's
literally
all it is.
A chapter in your book.
It's a chapter in your book. That is it. Yeah. Love the job. I still miss it, but there's no chance that I'd ever go back to it. And I went back to the academy back in 2018, and that was 10 years after I got out of the cops, and oh my God, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I thought I was going back to a bunch of mates, and it was going back to a bunch of, I don't know what they were. Yeah, it was horrible. Yes, I got some of the dark humor and a few other things, and I loved being a teacher at the academy or a lecturer or whatever they call it. But oh my God, the people that I worked with, it was toxic. Yeah. Really, really toxic. And it dragged me back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what horrible. You did not need.
I did not need it.
No. So we were just saying about how the trek isn't a literal trek. It's a trek in your mind. But
yes,
you guys are going to do a literal trek now.
We're
big one.
As a major fundraiser this year for Trojan's Trek, we're doing a bit of a trek.
Yeah. Well, for a while.
And it's called the Kokoda Trek.
Yeah. Just a little one.
Just a little one. So we're gathering 20 people. We don't care who they are, as long as they're able to do a 96-kilometre walk through the jungles of Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
And they're quite willing to do fundraising. Trojan's Trek will cover your costs to attend this Kokoda track, as long as you're willing to raise a minimum $7,500 before September 18. If you can raise that money, you're coming with us and we will go and do the Kokoda track.
So what does that include? Like flights, accommodation before and
Yep.
after?
We're each participant, we've got a group so far. We need a total of 20 participants. We can't do more than 20, but we're looking for 15 eligible people. And that'll cover not registration fee. It's the fees of accommodation, your food, and some of your equipment, and all the little bits and pieces that once you get over there, plus our flights to and from. And basically, over 10 days, we're going to walk 96 Ks through the jungles of Papua New Guinea as a achievable target, I believe. And we're trying to raise $100,000.
Wow.
Because each camp that we put on for Trojan's Trek costs us $50,000.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's $50,000 each camp, and we run 3 camps a year. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, because you might live in Perth or Darwin or wherever it might be, so we'll fly you to a camp.
Yeah.
And then we'll feed and water you for 7 days and all that sort of stuff. So each camp costs us around $50,000. Yeah. So that's why we're doing fundraising. We get no money from the government at all.
Wow.
We get nothing. We're not eligible for it. And if you do, you only get a one-off grant.
Okay.
We don't have a continuous flow of funding.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're trying to find organisations that are willing to fund us for a number of years as well, to sponsor us, whether it might be to support us in our cost of flights or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So we're doing the Kokoda track as our major fundraiser, which will cover us for about a year.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be a huge challenge. And we've got 12 signed up so far. So we just need a handful more people.
A few people.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be veterans, like first veterans or Army Defence.
Anybody that's willing to raise $7,500 and is fit enough and gets signed off by the doctor that they're able to do it. You're more than willing to come. You're not carrying a massive 20-kilo pack every day. We've got porters that are going to carry our equipment to our next camp. We've got a doctor on our camp, on our trek as well. We've got it's all properly run through Inspired Adventures, the company's called. It's all properly professionally run. You just got to cover your registration fee, your insurances, which is all up about $500. Get a pair of boots and a bit of clothing and whatever else you need on the camp. They supply all that information, what you need to bring. Yeah. It's very, very well done. Very well
I think
done.
it's so good because there's so many, like, I wouldn't say it's a bucket list thing, but it's definitely something that I've always had in the back of my mind that I'd like to do Kokoda. You know, one of my grandfathers was in World War II and actually was in Kokoda for that. And so I've always thought that would be something cool to do. And this year, unfortunately, it's not for me, but it can be really expensive.
Oh, yeah.
To do it, like to go with a group and actually do the walk. So this is fantastic for anyone that has thought about doing it. But, you know, the prices sort of put them off. Yes. To do some fundraising and to pretty much be able to pocket $500 or maybe a little bit more, you know, depending on your insurance. But I think that's incredible, opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm estimating for myself, I'll be spending about $1,000. Proper boots, proper clothing, all that sort of stuff, the registration, insurances and stuff like that. To do a 10-day, 12-day trek into Papua New Guinea, what an experience. What a lifetime goal for me. I've been wanting to do this for years and years. And it's cool. And look, age is no limit. The oldest person that's done the track is 82.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't one of us.
No.
But
just
literally our Zoom meeting the other night, every one of us was above the age of 45. And I think we've got one guy who's about 65 that's coming with us. And he's a military veteran, but But we need more representatives from emergency services. I'm the only bloody ex-emergency services person on this trek so far.
Really?
Yeah, so we've got all the usual military people, but I'm the only emergency services person so far. So we need somebody from the Ambos or Fireys or whatever or other. So, or another copper from whatever state. Who cares? We just need a couple more people. And the change in your life, because it's not about your fitness only. It's about your mental attitude as well. That's a huge mental thing as well to achieve this target.
Yeah. 96 Ks over 10 days. It's just under 10Ks a day. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Some days are going to be longer because you're walking between mountains, but some days are going to be shorter because you're climbing up to 2,500 meters at the highest peak. Yeah.
So what training are you doing for that?
So what training am I doing? Well, there's a couple of good steep hills here around Canberra that I'm not running. Just you throw a day pack on, which is a couple of kilos, 5 kilos, and you just walk up and down, up and down, up and down. But also going to the gym and doing lunges and battle rope exercises, core strength exercises, bit of running, cycling. It's a lot of endurance training as well. You got to do endurance. Rowing is really, really good.
Yeah.
Because you're building up your core plus your thighs and your arms and everything. So you got to build endurance. It's not about speed. It's about endurance because, you could be climbing 1,000 meters in one day. So you got to be able to get up that 1,000 meters today. You start at 8 and you're finishing at 6. Who knows? I really don't know. But if you register, when you get to a link on the page with Inspired Adventures, it tells you everything.
Yeah.
Or go onto our Trojans Trek page and go onto our upcoming treks page, and it's on there.
Yeah, I did see that. Very easy to navigate.
Yeah. And it tells you every day what you're going to be doing and where you're going and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And it's got all the frequently asked questions and all that sort of stuff on there as well. Like it's really, really informative for sure.
Yeah. And as part of my major fundraising, I'm putting on a dinner.
Yes.
A fundraising dinner on the 20th of May, 2025 here in Canberra. And I tracked down and I've got Australian athlete Robert De Castella, who was our champion back in the 80s and early 90s for marathons. Rob De Castella is coming along to do a talk at our dinner at the National Press Club. And I've got tickets available and I'm trying to get as many people to the event as possible so I can raise my $10,000.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's going to be a great night. We've got music coming and all that. It's going to be a fantastic night.
Yeah, perfect. I'll link to it in the show notes so people can grab tickets to that.
Yeah. National Press Club, if you don't know people, is where you see the Pollies do a lot of their talking at 2:00 on every weekday.
Yeah.
On ABC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very well-known location in the main part of Canberra, near Parliament House, of course.
Yeah.
And that National Press Club, it's been a huge supporter of our event too. Big supporter. They've given us a really good deal because we're a charity. But Rob De Castella, have a look him up. Guys, if you don't know who he is, he was huge. He went to 4 Olympics for Australia.
Yeah, I do remember. If people can't get to Kokoda or to the dinner, can they still donate?
They can certainly donate on my page or whatever you're going to share on your socials. There is a link there that takes you direct to my page and you get a tax deduction.
Yeah, perfect.
If you donate $100, the government gives it back to you at tax time.
Yeah, great time of year to do it now, actually, with tax time coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you've got a few spare bucks around, every dollar makes a difference. For every participant to come to a Trojans Trek camp, it costs each person, it costs us about $2,500 for each person to come to a camp. So every dollar supports one of those people to help resolve whatever they've got is going on in their head. Yeah.
Yeah. I did see that you have a couple of treks within Australia coming up this year too, which is exciting. And in New South Wales.
Yeah, in New South Wales. Yeah, so we've got a camp coming up in June in the Flinders Ranges in South Australia.
Beautiful.
And then we've got one in August in Gundaroo, which is literally 30 minutes north of Canberra. And then we've got one in Wagga in August? No, September, October, I think it is. Yeah. So we've got 2 camps in New South Wales. So yeah, the one at Gundaroo is going to be great. It's at a farm that is owned by a couple who lost their son to a suicide man in Afghanistan. Yeah, he was an entrusted Afghani.
Yeah.
And then he turned around and shot the army guys. And these people that own that farm, it was their son who lost his life as a result of that. So they donate their farms resources to us to do our camps. And they're lovely people and they're coming to our dinner. Yeah, so we've got a few camps coming up, and if anybody's interested in any of the camps, they just have to reach out on our website to the point of contact. There's a link on our website, or get in touch through the notes that you'll have on your.
Yeah, I'll definitely link to everything in the show notes for sure.
Yeah,
to the website, and then people can navigate that. It's so easy to navigate.
We're looking for people to come on a Trojans Trek. We're looking for people to come to Kokoda, and we're looking for donations.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
and we're all trying to do our bit. And if everybody did their bit, it would make our lives so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If everybody gave me $10, we wouldn't have to be asking for money ever again. Yeah. So every dollar helps.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to you and the team for what you're doing. Yeah. I know a couple of people that have been on the treks now.
Yeah.
I've said it's amazing. So,
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's going back to basics. Yeah, you're not in hotel or motel accommodation. It's going back to basics, and that's the reason for it.
Yeah.
You got to go back to basics and strip away all that noise just to get down to what is important. And what is important is you and getting you to your next stage in your life, and looking after yourself and being nice to your people that support you. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And my motto is the greatest exercise for your heart is to help somebody else stand up. Yeah. And you're doing your bit. And if everybody could help somebody else stand up, how cool would that be?
Yeah. Be a different world.
Yeah. It'd be a different world, whether that's through giving donations or just saying good morning, anything to help everybody have a nice day.
Perfect. Yeah. What a great way to end. Thank you so much for coming on again, Roger. It's
terrific.
Been such a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Rosie. Really appreciate your support. And one day we'll get to meet.
Yeah, I know, in real life.
Is that what you look like?
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any new ones. We release fresh content every Tuesday. And while you're there, take a moment to leave us a review. I would genuinely appreciate your thoughts. Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Tactical Yoga Australia and share this episode with your friends, family and workmates to spread inspiration. Your support means the world. My name is Rosie Skeen. Join me again next week for another empowering and positive episode of Triumph Beyond Trauma. Until then, be kind to your mind and trust in the magic of your consistent and positive efforts. Triumph Beyond Your Trauma is closer than you think. Have the best week.